Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be going through the making of Sewfisticated Planner. It comes with 3 sizes and with 3 different closure options. This is a school size and it fits the Happy Planner. For the school size, you will have 5 card slots, 3 slip pocket, 2 side slip pocket, zipper pocket. And of course, this is the book sleeve with a pen loop. It comes with a magnetic closure, elastic band closure, elastic band with a tab, and you can easily use embroidery patches to personalize your planner. This is a mini size, and this is a 1-inch book, 2 slip pocket, 4 card slots, 2 side slip pocket, pen loop, and a zipper pocket. Lastly, this is the mini size which I'm going to demonstrate today. If it's a mini Happy Planner, this works very well as a travel passport holder. You can fit 2, even 3, or even more if you omit out the book sleeve. This is also a magnetic closure. And the pattern pieces are versatile for you to change your flap to the left side, meaning left flap opening versus a right flap opening. I will go through with you how do you cut your pattern pieces based on right flap or left flap opening. The tutorial will come with your timestamp, so you can skip to any steps, especially if you're not doing the closure that is mentioned in the pattern instruction. Let me walk through with you how do you prepare your pattern pieces. On the first page of your pattern pieces, you will have these important notes. Open the projector file. You can, even if you do not have any projector, you can open the file to see the pattern overview. Okay, and it's important to open the file using Adobe Reader. It's a free pattern you can download from the internet and print at actual size. And once done, you measure 1-inch box to make sure that you print correctly. And some pattern pieces, such as this, which I will demonstrate, you will have a diamond. You need to line up the triangle to form a diamond. Placement markings for stabilizer, zipper pocket, elastic band, and magnetic snip. These can be found in this piece A1, which I will demonstrate how do you piece together. I like to punch hole so that I can save the paper and for easy placement transfer. And I do use laminate to laminate all my pattern pieces. This is a pattern piece overview. It will show you on how do you piece the pattern together. It should have the page number because my this was a previous version, but all will have a page number reflected in the pattern pieces overview. And also a cut list, because many people, including myself, when I first started, I like to have this cut list to make sure that I cut it, have all the pattern pieces ready. First, we will need to cut on the outer bow line. But before that, make sure you measure the test box. Okay, on here, once I'm done, you'll line up the corresponding letters to the piece. I like to leave some, I do not trim off the excess here. Reason being because I'm going to laminate and it just helps to stabilize the paper even better. Line up the triangle to make it as a diamond. Once done, take over the pattern piece. I should make it longer. Line up the other side, A2 to A2. If you like to laminate like I do, because lamination, there is a size limit. So what I did is I laminate part of the pieces first and join them together after that. Like for this piece, this is laminated through a A3 laminator. Thereafter, I will tape these together to make it as a one whole piece. It is important to identify whether are you doing a right flap or a left flap. The pattern instruction and pattern pieces are designed for a right flap opening. However, if you like to do a left flap opening, turn your pattern pieces to card with a fabric right side up, which I'm going to demonstrate to you. There are notes like this for piece A, piece C, and A1. Right flap opening, cut the fabric facing right side up, pattern pieces right side up, as per the orientation. If you are making a left flap opening, cut the fabric wrong side up, or just turn your pattern piece upside down so that it is a left flap opening over here. If you are making the exterior with the accent panel, you will need to take note on piece A. This is my old version. There should be a note here as well, so for you to take note. Right flap opening, cut the fabric right side up. Left flap opening, turn your fabric upside down to cut. I hope this is clear. Now let's get started. Let's go through the pattern pieces that we need today. This is the front exterior. You will flat panel, piece A, piece B, accent panel, C, exterior panel, the main lining, A1, and A2, that is your stabilizer. Let's go through the interior pockets. You will need C1, clear vinyl, that is a book sleeve, elastic band for the pen loop, bias tape, piece D, that is a clear vinyl, D1 the lining, 4 pieces of bias tape, zipper by the yard, I'm using number 5 with a pull, piece Z, that is a zipper tab, that is a zipper pocket, piece E, this is a cut slot pocket, E1, two pieces of side panel, E2, cut slot panel, E3, the zipper pocket, sorry, this is a slip pocket, E4, slip pocket panel, and if you have a label tag, do bring it out so that you remember to sew it. Just now I forgot to mention about this logo tag, which I'm going to attach to the front panel. There are 3 types of zipper closure. Today I will demonstrate to you how to use sew with a magnetic closure. I have another tutorial which explains on the elastic band. Now let's get started. You can put everything away except for the front pocket pieces, plus your label tag. Before we go to the sewing machine, let's go through what are the notions that you will be using for this pattern. Lots of clips, pair of scissors. It's good to have a pinking shear because we will need it at the end of the final assembly. The lighter, a lighter to sink your zipper ends and your bias tape. Thermostat. This is great for you to maneuver around tight corners, but these pattern pieces you will have very minimum. A flat screwdriver for me, I like to have this standby to change the needle because at the final top stitch is a good habit for you to change a new needle, and sometimes, depending on the bulk, good to increase the size. Seam ripple, that is for you to do your magnetic snap and your logo tag. And this is the hum jumper. Again, if you sometimes you have skip stitches, especially due to uneven bulk, you can use this. This is very great, good for avoiding skip stitches. Ruler, heat disappearing ink. And this is a silver pen. This is awesome for clear vinyl. And a phrase stopper if you slit the fabric for your magnetic snap and your logo tag. Masking tape for the prongs. And let's get started. And cut equally into 4 pieces. Make sure that you already slide in your pull and sink your zipper end. After you have cut, place 2 zipper tabs right side together with the zipper tape. Right side down, zipper tip right side up, and at the back, right side down, and the wrong side of the zipper tip right side up. Or for this case is wrong side down. Repeat the same on the other end. Right side up, wrong side down. Go to the sewing machine and sew with a 3/8-inch seam allowance. Once you're done, you turn the zipper tab right side up and baste it together with a 1/8-inch seam allowance. Ends with a 3/8 seam allowance. Once done, turn the fabric right side up and top stitch it with a top stitch it with a 1/8 seam allowance. You're done with your zipper tab, you can put it aside for now. Next, take piece D, clear vinyl, and cut 2" from either side of the long edge. I already draw the line. I'm going to cut it. I'm not too sure whether can you see it, but there's a silver ink in the middle. Next, place DST on the 2 sides of the long edge, both right side and wrong side. I'm going to show you how do you do it with DST and without, because some of us do not have the double-sided tape, which is I call it a DST. So I'm going to show you how to do it without one. Okay, on the left side, I'm going to paste it. This can be done without the DST, in fact. But if you want to achieve a nicer stitch, especially with a bias tape and zipper tape, DST is very useful. Okay, and we'll peel the backing on either side. I like to start at the back. Take your bias tape and place this in the middle. I always like to cut longer than the pattern piece for the bias tape to have some allowance. Before you peel the backing on the front, just make sure that you are happy with the whole thing. I'm using a 2.3 cm bias tip from the shop. Once you're satisfied, you can peel it out and cover the both ends with bias tape. If you do have a label tag, put at least 1 inch up from the bottom or the top, or anywhere that you like. If there's a print placement, I usually place somewhere that I don't hide the characters. One thing good about DST, they secure everything together, but it's a bit tougher if you want to make some adjustment like for now. Once done with this, take your zipper tab that you did earlier, zipper tape that you did earlier. Make sure the pull is close, is opening from the top, like this, and take 1/8 inch. You can take a 1/4 inch, but 1/8 inch would be better for zipper tape. It is so sticky that I can't take it out from the packaging, so I just leave it. If I try, the whole thing will come out. You can take your ruler or eyeball it and mark a 1/4 inch. So that you know where to put the placement. So you know where to put your bias tape here. Okay, once you are happy with this, we can go to the machine and sew a 1/8 inch seam allowance away from the zipper tape and another 1/8 inch seam allowance from the first stitch. After that, we will come back and I will demonstrate to you how do you do binding and put over the zipper tape without DST. I have this habit of holding my thread, bobbin thread and the top thread together before I start my stitches and starting from the inside. Reason being, I don't want my bobbin thread to have nest. Because sometimes if you don't pull your bobbin thread, it will actually go down. And what happened is your stitches at the back will look, is nested. And to me, I don't like, that's one of the reasons that I don't use auto cut. I start inside, pull my stitches and reverse stitch immediately. Adjust if you need it. Once here, I'm going to turn, and whenever you turn, always is a good habit again to lift up your needle before you go for the next stitch or before you turn, so that you can avoid the skip stitch. The needle is able to catch the bobbin thread. For those that wonder why sometimes you have skip stitches at corners. Once I trim off, I like to use my lighter to seal the bias stick, because this bias stick will fray. Now you're done with one side. we will be doing another side without DST. We are going to do on the other side without double-sided tape. With this, you place it over the bias tape, center it, make sure you cover both sides equally. Because we do not have DST, so we need to stitch a 1/4 inch seam allowance first before we can attach this to the zipper tape. Let's sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance from the bias tape. Reason because this is a clear vinyl. Some clear vinyl or TPU are stickier than others, and depending on the sewing machine. So it is always good to sew from the fabric on top of the fabric. For this case, is bias tape. Okay, one thing I like about sewing bias tape, I like to start off ahead before the fabric first, and I will stitch from there. From here, then I will back stitch so that it get the alignment right. And make sure your stitch length is at the top stitch length. I'm using a 4.5 on my machine. And from here, you can always adjust accordingly. I find it easier than to sew with clips. Once you're done, mark a 1/4 inch on the zipper tape, the clear vinyl on top of the zipper tape, and use clip to secure the top and the bottom. Make sure you are happy with the spacing, and we're going to top stitch from the top to the bottom with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. For this case, I find it easier if I turn around and top stitch it. Either way works. Like before, I start inside the fabric, hold the bobbin thread, and reverse stitch. Make sure here, go back to the 1/4 inch seam allowance marking that you did, or otherwise you just eyeball the spacing. Next, take out your pattern piece D1, the lining. You will realize that it is smaller than the clear vinyl with the zipper. It is fine because we will trim down later. I would like to highlight, if you are using pattern piece D1, such as the fabric base such as cotton woven, cotton canvas that requires you to interface at the back, make sure you cut 2 pieces. But do mind the bulk because it can be very thick on the final assembly. Okay, if you do that, place it together, wrong side together, and have the clear vinyl, put it on top. How you want to place your clear vinyl on top, that is really up to you. Okay, there is no hard and fast rule, but just make sure that there are enough space on your right side if you are using a right flat opening, or left side if you are doing the left flat opening for the elastic band. Because you don't want you don't want to place it too much, maybe not place too much on the left side or the right side where your elastic band will cover your zipper tape. So for me, I'm going to do this because I'm doing a right side opening, and I thought it's nice to feature this floral So you clip together. You can either trim it now or baste it first, then trim. I'm going to baste it first, thereafter I'm going to trim it down. If you have a print direction, bear in mind where is your zipper pull is. The zipper pull should be opening from the top to the bottom. And from here, I'm going to trim it down. Okay, take your two bias tape, DST if you have it. I'm going to show you one side with DST, one is without. Same like before, top stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but because this is a clear vinyl, it is always good to start your bias tape stitches from the fabric. For this case is bias tape. For now, you're going to hang on. I'm going to explain to you on the other side. Similarly, we are going to use clip to secure. Bring to the sewing machine and top stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides. Likewise, I'm going to start inside the fabric, adjust my stitch length to 4.5, reverse stitch first, you can see there's barely any nest at the back. On the other side, you can either start from the bias tape or inside the fabric. Trim off the bias tape and seam with a lighter. You're done with this zipper pocket, put it aside first. Next is book sleeve. We need a clear vinyl, one bias tape. If you have DST, you use the DST. Otherwise, we use clip to secure. First, you take your bias tape, seam with a lighter first, and fold a 3/8 inch. If you do not have a DST, you just try to finger press it. If you do have a piece of DST here, and fold it. Put the folded seam at the top, secure with clips. And bring to the sewing machine and top stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Next, If you are using a DST, you can straight away top stitch from the top to the bottom. But because I didn't use DST, it is rather hard to start from the top while keeping the thread lines. So I'm going to turn it over and start from the bottom. Trim off the excess bias stick, and your hook sleeve is done for now. Keep it aside. We are at page 11, step number 7. We are doing a cut slot pockets now. So you take a piece E, pocket lining, and trace the marking from pattern pieces E. How do you do it? First, you mark on the two sides. You need not draw over the line, just make the marking. As this is a sophisticated 12 for my shop, so sometimes it's very hard to identify which side is the right, but I would think it's this. Hence, I always use this water pump to make sure that I get the right side. As you can see, the water actually rolls, so this is on the right side. So we place the marking on the right side. Line it up. So from here, I'll line the number 1, the dash line, number 2, do all the markings all the way to step number 4. For mini and classic, the cut slots are the same, which you have 4 folded pockets. For school size, you have 5. And repeat on the other side. If you do use those fabric that you need iron to iron the line, the folds, what you do is you snip at the lines, at the markings, so that you are able to see where is the placement. Because if you use a heat disappearing ink, it will be gone. But for this, because this fabric is very easy for me to create cut slot, I'm going to just use my finger to fold it. We start from the top, and I'm going to fold this because I need to fold on the dash line, wrong side together, and fold it to number 1. And I use the clip to secure. Alternatively, you can use your finger to make the crease, or if you have a scraper, you can actually use it to make the line to be more obvious. Sorry, not the line, the pockets. Same, we'll go to the next dash line, fold it wrong side together, and fold up to the placement marking, which is number 2. So I finger press at the marking that I did. The same until you got 4 pockets. Take a cut slot and make sure that they fit nicely before we top stitch the folded seam. satisfied with this. At the same time, make sure that the height is the same as your side panel. Since the slip pocket is the same concept, I'm going to put this aside first before I go for top stitching and show you the slip pocket. Transfer the placement marking like what you did earlier. Me only have one, whereas for classic and school, you have two. Like earlier, we will fold this wrong side together. This is right side, wrong side. So I'm going to just pinch the line, okay, and fold it up. I'm using a 420D. This is a custom fabric from my shop. The line up is almost perfect, but it's not there yet. One of the print that I did, it lined up perfectly, depending on the size, and that was really pure luck. Okay, before we top stitch, make sure this height is the same as piece E4. If it's not, then you adjust slightly. There is a slight difference. Sometimes when we do the hand cutting, there may be slight deviation. And make sure the height here is also equal. Okay, now we are going to bring to the sewing machine and top stitch the pockets. For the cut slots, there will be 4, and for the slip pocket, there will be 1. Remember to always put the fabric behind and make sure you just top stitch the individually folded pockets so that you don't top stitch it close. Likewise for the slip pocket, once done, we will base the side with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Move your clips away so that you can fold the back behind and top stitch the pocket slot. Okay, once you're done, fold back to the placement marking. Use clip to secure. Make sure it's the same height as your side panel. And go ahead and base the side with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, once you're done, put this aside first, and we will continue to base for your slip pocket. For the mini size, there's only one folded slot for you to top stitch. For classic and school size, there will be 2. and base the side with a 1/8" seam allowance. Once we are done with the cut slot pocket and the slip pocket, leave the slip pocket aside first. Take the two side panel, right side together, secure it with clips. Sew it with a 1/4" seam allowance on both edges. Once done, snip off the corners, the 4 corners, to reduce bulk. Turn the side panel right side up and top stitch with a 1/8" seam allowance. Do for the other side as well. There's another option. If you do not wish to have cut slot and would like to have an extra slip pocket, you can use piece E2 to cut a clear vinyl and use bias tape to cover the raw top edges with bias tape. The steps are similar as what we did for the zipper pocket. So right now I'm going to just to demonstrate both for you to see. Once you have top stitch, you can place it on top of the slip pocket. The concept is the same as for cut slot. This will reduce bulk, and for people who doesn't need the cut slot, it is very useful. So now let's go to the sewing machine and sew with a 1/4" seam allowance. So once you have sewed the 1/4" seam allowance, snip the corners. This will prevent the layers from adding up. Open the fabric with the seam allowance facing towards the side panel and top stitch it. Next, take your piece E2, take the right side. This is the right side. Place it right side together. Align the top edges. If the side panel is slightly wider, it is alright. Just find the center point and sew it with a 1/4" seam allowance. Snip the corners like what you did earlier. Fold your fabric wrong side together and top stitch a perimeter with a 1/8" seam allowance. The cut slot pocket is done. As mentioned, I will demonstrate on this for your replacement of cut slot. before I go through this step, let me go through with you. If you do not wish to do a cut slot, you want to add a slip pocket, how should you do? This is very easy. So I'll put this aside first. This slip pocket is highlighted on page 5. Instead of doing cut slot, we'll do a slip pocket and replace the clear vinyl on top of the slip pocket. Secure it with clips. Wrong side together with your E4. Baste it with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Similar concept with your zipper pocket, and use a bias tape to bind the raw edges. If you are doing right flap opening, your bias tape should be on the right. Likewise, if you're doing a left flap opening, your bias tape should be on the left. However, do take note, because we omit out the cut slot, meaning we have a 1/4 inch seam allowance extra. You wouldn't want that, because what happened is, as the current calculation, this is a right flap opening. The bias tape here is calculated, the mathematics that it doesn't touch the book here. So if you don't remove the 1/4 inch that was needed for your cut slot, you will have extra, and it will not be, it will not be nice. So if you do slip pocket, once you put the bias tape already, trim out the extra. So right now we put this aside first. Okay, what do we need now? We will need your cut slot that you did, slip pocket on top of each other, right side up, and we will go to the sewing machine and baste the 3 sides with a 1/8 inch allowance. Once done, take piece E4, right side together. If you are doing right flap opening, sew with a 1/4 inch on the right side. If you on the left opening, sew on the left. So the rule is left, right for the slip pocket. Right now, we go to the sewing machine and baste the 3 sides first. Here, it is proportionate for both sides. Once done, right side and right side clip together. I'm doing a right flap opening, so I will sew on the right side, right long edges with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Snip off the corners and fold the fabric right side up. This is where the bulk will build up. So your fabric for your cut slot is important. Once you have clipped the wrong side together, base and top stitch this side with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. You will notice there is a uneven layers here. So your hump jumper is very useful. Put it under before the next layer to avoid skip stitches. And we are done with our slip pocket. Now we can do our main lining assembly. Next, take your A1 lining and your pattern piece. For my pattern piece, I shared before, I like to laminate all my pattern pieces and punch hole at the important placement, such as a stabilizer. And for this, there are quite a fair bit. The book sleeve, magnetic snap, and of course the band loop. In your pattern pieces, there will be another placement here, but this was the previous version. So for this now, you will need to mark, because I'm doing a right flap opening, you line it together. Right flap opening, book sleeve placement. So I need to mark where my book sleeve will be, and this is where my band loop, which is the elastic band, will be. And I'm going to do a magnetic placement. So I need to place my magnetic placement here. And also the zipper pocket placement. If yours is a left flap opening, you will turn your lining will, the rounded edge, the curved edge will be on the left side, and this you also have to turn. You will put a left flap opening book sleeve here, and your pen loop will be here. Likewise for your zipper pocket. Zipper pocket, it will always be next to the curved edge, and the cut slot slip pocket will be always on the straight round edges. Bring out all the pockets and your A1 lining, which include zipper pocket. If you have a label, extra label, or you forget to sew it here, you can still put it. Your pen loop, which is the elastic band, book sleeve, and the cut slot. First, we mark the pen loop earlier. Fold your elastic band and place it above the pen loop and base it with a 1/8" seam allowance. Once done, take your book sleeve, make sure it's aligned at the top 2 points, sew it with a 1/8" seam allowance. When I come to the pen loop, I like to do a double reverse stitch to secure. The zipper pocket, place it against the placement that you had marked earlier, clip it in place, and decide if you are doing a magnetic snap or elastic band, because if you forget about the label tag earlier, you can still place it. However, if you want to do a magnetic closure, avoid the center. For this case, I'm going to put it up so that it's facing opposite. Once done, sew with a 1/8" seam allowance for the two short edges and along the bias tip. Last is the slip pocket and the cut slot. Align to the edge and sew with a 1/8" seam allowance, leaving here open. This is for right flap opening. If you are doing the left flap opening, the whole thing will be opposite. Both the zipper pocket and the cut slot remain at the same position. The only change is the pen loop. I didn't mark here earlier, but this is for left flap opening. The pen loop and the book sleeve will be here. So when you do this internal main lining, do take note which side are you going to do, which flap opening you are doing. So let's go to the sewing machine now and do all the steps. First, seam your elastic band. Place it above the band loop placement. And sew with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Remember to do a reverse stitch. Once done, we take the book sleeve you can place a masking tape here to prevent it from moving. As mentioned, when you come to the band loop, do a reverse stitch on the top and the bottom. Next, I'm going to take the zipper pocket. Make sure your puller head is at the top. Fit to the placement marking. Because I'm doing the magnetic snap and I want to add in extra logo, I put it at the top. And I will sew with a 1/8 inch seam allowance along the top edge, followed by the bias tape and the bottom edge. Remember to change your stitch length. If yours was set to a higher stitch length, just now mine was 6 and now it's 4.5. Last is the slip cut slot times slip pocket. I will line to the edge. I'm going to baste the two top and the side, leaving here open. Trim off the corners. And your interiors main lining with pockets is done. Now we are done with the interior pockets to your main lining. Next is to do the closure that you are looking to for your planner. If you are looking at to do a magnetic snap, That will be the placement, and we will be putting the male magnet. For mini and classic size, there is only one magnet, whereas for school size, there will be two. You put this aside first, since we'll be making it later, so I can walk you through the steps. Method 3 is the elastic band only. This is the easiest and fastest closure among the three. However, do take note, because there are different elastic band quality in the market. This is the waistband, which I like the elasticity for this. How do we cut, since we have different type of quality in the market? The height plus 3 inches with a comfortable stretch. So for me, right now I take this. I know it is the same height, and I want to make sure that it actually stretches out 3 inches comfortably. Place it below the bias tip closest to the curved edge. Base with a 1/8 inch seam allowance, and your elastic band is done. You can put it aside if you are doing the elastic band. For today, we are looking to do this magnetic snap. What will you need? You will need a seam ripple, a pen, either a heat transfer pen, but for me, because it's a dark color lining, so I'm using a silver pen. Some sort of stabilizer. I'm using a felt now, a stiff felt. Take the male version, the male magnet, and also a washer. The female, put it aside for now, and a masking tape. On your mark placement, place a washer in the center. And mark the two prongs outline. Use your seam ripper to slit it, not too much, just enough for your prongs to go in. Take your fray stopper. I dropped mine earlier and it has a crack. I couldn't pour in, so I'm going to use the cotton bud to pour some over. Cover the slit opening. This is similar to logo tag. Any snap that require to put your slit open, you can use the same method. We turn the fabric over on a stabilizer. Mark the prongs opening too. And place it over. I like to press the prongs outwards. Oh, before I forget, always test your magnet. Because I finished one and I realized the magnetic doesn't work. So you must make sure that it works before you install. And I'm going to trim down the stabilizer. Place the masking tape over to protect it so that it doesn't scratch your fabric. And your lining is now done. You can put this aside now while we will be doing the exterior. This is on page 15, step 18. Assembly the exterior. Take piece A, flat panel, and B, accent panel. Line the straight long edges. Use clip to secure the top and the bottom. And sew the long edges with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Use scissors to snip off the corners to reduce the bulk before turning the fabric right side up and top stitch. Let's go to the sewing machine. Snip off. Turn your fabric side up and top stitch with the seam allowance facing towards your flat panel. Once done, take your PC exterior panel, line the both straight edges together, right side together, clip it. Repeat the same process as earlier. We will sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, snip the corners, turn the fabric right side up and top stitch it. Make sure the fabric are right side together. Either use your finger to finger press it or iron it if your fabric allows. With the SA facing towards the PC exterior panel, and we will top stitch it. We are done the exterior assembly, and make sure the width, the dimension is the same as the main lining. Trim it down if necessary. And we are now at step 20, stabilizer. This is piece A2. If you are using a sew-in stabilizer, it should be the same size as your exterior, meaning you use piece A1 lining to cut the same size. And you need to base to your exterior now. However, do take note, this method will add layers and you may have some issue during your final top stitch. So be mindful on your exterior base. And if you are using a fusible stabilizer, fuse it now. If you are using stiff felt or Peltex, leave it aside first because we can always slot it in. If you are comfortable to buff it together, you can use double-sided tape and paste it on top. That works as well. Otherwise, we can always do a final slip in after buffing your planner. I'm using a self-adhesive foam. This is 2.0 heavy, and this is from my shop. I will show you how do you do it. Use a scraper to smooth out the bubbles. It is not necessary for you to iron, but if you like to have a better adherence, you can do it. You see the difference? Okay, just make sure there is no bubble. You can still adjust where it's needed. There is no hard and fast rule where should you put your logo tag. For me, I personally do not like to hide it with some characters. And for any logo tag, mark at least 1¼ inch away from the edges, including the top stitch, because that could hindrance you from buffing, and you don't want your logo tag to be too low or too high. I've already marked my placement here, so I'm going to use my seam ripper to cut it. Okay, once you are done, we are ready for final assembly. Now we are at page 16. You have to decide which closure you want to use for your planner if you are not using the method 3, which is the elastic band. If you are, you can skip this step. Method 1 on step 22, this is the magnetic snap which we are doing for this planner. But for now, I'm going to leave this aside. I'm going to demonstrate to you now on step 24, method 2, tag with elastic band. We'll put this away first. Take piece EB, elastic band tag, and fold the long edges right side together into half. Once you fold the long edge right side together, go to your sewing machine, fill this gap unsew so that we can buff the fabric. Sew with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. As this is rather a small tag, so be mindful the fabric that you use. It can be because it has a small opening gap, and you do not want to choose fabric that is too thick to buff. Once done, snip off the corners and buff the fabric. And use your chopstick to smooth out the corners. Bring it to the iron if you need to. Fold in with a 3/8 inch. You can use DST to secure the opening, or just clip together first while we sew onto the panel. This is for method 2, tag with elastic band. If you're not doing this, you can skip to the next chapter. Take your flat panel piece A, transfer the markings, and usually I like to punch hole because I laminate my pattern pieces. Transfer the elastic band placement and also the tag. Take a pattern piece, place over the curved edge, line up together, and transfer the placement. Okay, once we have made the placement, take your elastic band and sew them together. Take your elastic band, place to the elastic band placement that you have marked. Sew with a 3/8 inch. Sew with a 3/8 inch seam allowance first. Make sure it's not tangled. Okay. Once done, place your tag on top of the elastic band on the placement marking and top stitch it. I like to do a double stitch, just the same as this. This is a double stitch, and once I done it, then I will put my logo tag. This is one of the alternative for you to place your logo tag. There's another way for you to make use of embroidery patches. I hope to do so after I move my house and do something creative, personalize your planner. Instead of using a elastic band tag, you can use the embroidery. It will be looking like this. So the closure will be from the outside, and you just wrap it around. So this is method 2. Now I'm demonstrating the method 1, the magnetic snap. You can use cam snap as an alternative. For mini and classic size, you will only have 1 magnet, and for school, you will have 2. Your piece A1 lining and transfer the placement marking. It doesn't show here, but on your pattern piece, you will have this magnetic placement for your exterior. Once done, same, place your washer over the center point of the placement marking that you did and mark the placement. As mentioned earlier, make sure that your magnetic snap works, because mine didn't in one of my prototype, and I have to redo the whole thing. Use your prongs to cut it and dab the fabric face topper over it. If you are using a slip-in stabilizer, meaning you will put it in after your buffing, make sure you put at least a scrap of stabilizer against the magnet. And you're done with the magnetic closure. We are into the final assembly. Take out your main lining and place them right side together. Clip to secure. Okay, once you are done, identify the top and the bottom. Bottom, you should see this book sleeve with the L stitches. And go to the sewing machine. At the top, make sure you avoid the accent panel so that it's easier for you to fold, to buff it. This is where the cut slot pocket, so I will mark the opening. And I like to start my stitches outside to in with an L stitch. Reason being, After you birth, it is the folded fabric into the seam for you to top stitch. It will look prettier. Start from the edge down, sew with a 3/8 inch at the top, followed by a 1/4 inch at the side. At the bottom, 3/8 inch, curved edges, 1/4 inch, and finish off with a 3/8 inch. The top and the bottom is 3/8 inch. The both side is 1/4 inch. And if you are using a vinyl, once you do the first stitch, do another stitch within the SA about a 1/8 inch away from the first stitch, so that after when you birth, your stitches will look prettier. If you are sewing a classic or even a school size, especially the school size, make sure you do have the table space, or be mindful of the front. You start here with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I like to do a reverse stitch to reinforce the opening, and you change to a 1/4 inch at the side. Back to 3/8 inch. Make sure your pull is not on either top of the zipper. Back to a 1/4 inch. Mine was marginally, mine was a little bit larger. I didn't trim down, that's fine, because I sew at the, I use the main lining as the guide. Back to 3/8 inch. Once you're here, do a back stitch. Check that you're satisfied with the stitches. Try a pinking shear or a pair of scissors if you do not have pinking shear. It just makes things easier to snip off at the side. If you do not have, you can make out this little triangle, space it out. This will make your top stitch look nicer for the curved edges. Do not snip the SA along the long edge. I tried during the prototype and I have issue during top stitching. So my advice is just leave it as it is. In the side here, if you do have a hairdryer at home, please use it so that it makes things easier before you birth, because we do have clear vinyl inside plus a stabilizer. And now I will try to take it out without using any hairdryer. Use your chopstick to smooth out the corners, even at the side also. The pointed side to point out the corners. Because we're using clear vinyl, we don't iron it. Because of the layers from the cardstock and the slip pocket, here is the thickest. So if you have been sewing for a while, take a break after you put the clips on to flatten the bulk, or you can use a leather clammer or even a mallet to actually flatten the whole layers. This is one of the reasons why I always stress when you do a birthing, do a L stitches so that your fabric naturally fold in without any effort of your side to make sure that it match up. The bias state. Jelly rolls is not recommended for this because of the layers here. You do not want to have issue on your machine during the top stitching. And top stitching is recommended for you to change a new needle. And for this case, I increase the size of my needle for top stitching. I'm using a size 18, my machine. And for those who wonder, I'm using an organ needle. I'm using a semi-industrial Juki. Okay, flatten it. And if you are using a slip-in stabilizer such as Peltex, you can actually do it before you close up the opening. So I can also flatten out the bubble, which can still be done later. Sure your pull is in the middle and the top stitch. For the top stitch, I like to start after the book sleeve and leave a trail of threads so that I can tie the knot to finish it instead of reverse stitch. I will show you how to do it. Top stitch with a 1/8" seam allowance along the perimeter. Come to uneven layers such as at the pockets. Use a hem jumper. Place it here so that you do not have skip stitches. Leave a trail about 3 to 4 inches of bobbin thread and top thread together. Do not back stitch because we're going to tie the knot to finish it, and have your hem jumper ready. My top stitch length is at 5 now because of the layers. Okay, when you come close to this side pocket, there is uneven bulk. So I'm going to put a hem jumper at the bottom. When you come to the side, I like to have this habit of lifting up my needle. But my needle is still inside so that it can hook the bobbin thread and to avoid skip stitch. Make sure your lining and your exterior are lined up. This is where you come to the corner, have your hump jumper stand by. Okay, this is where I will tie the knot. Take your top thread, pull it, and there should be a loop. Take out the loop. You should have 2 threads out now. Tie a knot. Another knot, at least 2 to 3. You can actually use a needle to go through it and hide the thread, but I find it's really up to individual. I'm okay with this, and I'm going to burn it. Then you can continue. Just stop at where you started. Again, cut about a few inches of thread so that you can tie the knot over here. Pull it out. You're done. Your sophisticated planner is now ready, and this is mini size. And I hope you enjoy the process as much as I did. Please do try the other two, the classic and the school size. We do have a Share Your Make Challenge giveaway over at the Facebook group. The link is in the description. There, and tag me on social media. Please help to like and subscribe if you have not. Thank you. Okay, be sure to increase your stitch length and also leave a good amount of bobbin thread and top thread for you to tie the knot later. Do not backstitch. Stand by your hump jumper. As you can see right now, it's uneven. So we are going to leave it up to make it even to avoid skip stitches. Okay, when you reach here, as I was mentioning just now, you can either top stitch over on both sides. Make sure you repeat the same process on both of the elastic band. Otherwise, you can leave your elastic band and make sure it's out of the way, which I'm going to do so. Okay, when you reach the corner, this is a good habit for you to lift up your needle to be sure that there is no skip stitches. lift up before we either turn or sew. Make sure you do have a good sewing clearance. Lift up your needle and go. Another bulb. Okay, so your elastic band is out of the way now. Okay, when I reach here, I like to pull out and tie the knot first. Okay, you will have, when you pull your this thread, there will be a loop and you take the bobbin thread out. Tie a knot, more than one knot actually. Normally I tie 2 to 3. There are some people which is even, you can also thread it into a needle and hide it under the seam, but I'm not doing so. That will be even better. Continue and end your needle just before the next stitch. Pull out, make sure you don't do auto cut. In fact, I don't like auto cut because it tends to make the next stitches nest, it tends to make your stitches nest up on your next sew. I'll demonstrate this on the mat. Okay, as mentioned, you will have a top and bobbin thread. You pull out your thread, you will see this loop. And just use it, just pull the loop up so that the thread will come up. Then you will tie a few knots. Trim it and just seam with a lighter. And you're done. Look how beautiful this is. This is perfect. Wow. So if yours is an elastic band, you will do this. Let's fill up this goodie. This is a 1-inch book. Passport. You have three slip pocket and the 2 side slip pocket. And let's put in the cards. You can always customize without the cards and with just a card holder. Yeah, piece E2 to do a slip pocket and omit out the card slot. scissors in. See how it doesn't bump into the book. You can even put a thicker book inside. Thank you for sewing with me, and I hope you have enjoyed the tutorial. Please leave in a comment if you have any question, and like and subscribe to my channel. And I try out the other two size. This is classic. We do have a mini size and a school size.